Well, hello everyone. Welcome to today's video. It is Monday, the 28th of June, and we are at Richmond Street East, and we're at the dog park between Adelaide and Richmond Street. It is magnificent outside temperature-wise. There's a bit of a breeze, thank goodness. I'm already a puddle. It's about 12:15 in the afternoon. And right now the camera is angling eastbound on Richmond. So Richmond can't walk up all the way east on Richmond because it's an overpass. But today's video, we are going to be walking west on Richmond Street East. I did a video a little while ago where I walked Richmond Street West, so I thought it's only right to look at the rest of Richmond Street. So, getting to our start point today, I was so distracted by the neighborhood because up until the pandemic started, I used to come down to Corktown on a very regular basis because I was volunteering at the shelter, and of course, since the pandemic, I haven't been down the neighborhood. So I've been coming down, walking through this neighborhood for years. And I just got so distracted with all the changes down in the neighborhood. And what I mean is buildings that, you know, were under development when I used to come down here. So, you know, there was that big scaffolding that covered the buildings, and you know, they were in pretty raw form. And now a lot of them, I've seen people have already moved in, which is just surprising. I'm just trying to decide what side of the street to walk on here. Maybe I'll stay here. Anyhow, so I'm still distracted by it, about all the changes that's happened in a year and a half. I started coming down to the shelter 8 years ago, I guess, and there has been a lot of changes in Regent Park. There's that beautiful aquatic center. Some really nice condos have replaced some housing that actually did need to be upgraded. The good news is, as far as I know, the new condos, I think, were obliged to accommodate the people that lived in the housing before it came down and the new condos were erected. And I just miss coming down here. It's about an hour and a half, an hour 20, maybe an hour, I can't remember, about an hour and a half. How long did it take me to get down here? About an hour 20 maybe to get down here. And so that was I used to walk that all the time, and then I would walk home, and I used to zigzag my way through Cabbagetown, through Regent Park, Corktown. So one day I'm going to take you guys on one of my many walkways that I would take to go to the shelter. Hopefully I can do that soon when the shelter opens up again. I miss being around all those critters. Yeah, speaking of critters, as I was walking down Yonge Street, I passed the Rosedale Veterinary Clinic, and I could hear a dog as I was approaching, walking south. I could hear a dog yelping, and I could tell the sound of a distressed dog. And he was with his human dad, but you can tell he was stressed out. And then the vet tech came out and and then took the dog. But I remember that just took me back to, I just find that stressful because it took me back to when we had our dog. His name was Physics. And we used to walk to the vet clinic in our neighborhood, which was maybe, 5 or 7 minute walk. And when we got to a certain spot, probably about a block away from the vet clinic, my dog would stop and start to pull and tug, walk back home, and he was getting all stressed out. So much so that he wouldn't walk, and I would have to pick him up and carry him. And he would be whining, and I just feel so bad. And, how do you tell a dog it's for his own good? And he used to go there at least every 3 months because he used to get groomed. And of course he would go, for his annual checkups. And then when he got older, we would have to take him to the vet more often. And every time, it never failed, he would get stressed out. Yeah, that was our little boy Physics. Here, I wonder what's happening with these buildings here. That one there is boarded up. Applause Inc. That's kind of a cool name for a company. Very positive. And I don't ever walk down Richmond. I've never had so when I used to walk home from the shelter, sometimes I would walk along King. Or I used to walk a lot along Queen. And then, I would just find different ways to get home. If I walked along King or Queen, it was usually because I needed to stop and get something at the Eaton Center. But yeah, Richmond, no. But there is a particular spot, and once we get there, I'll show you. So coming off the ramp, driving, going west on Richmond, because Richmond is only a one-way street going west. You come across some condos that are just ahead. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it always felt like to keep driving straight along Richmond, you drive right into that building, at least in my mind. It always felt like you're driving right into that building. And then it has a curve, slight bend in the road, of course, that eludes the building, but it just so feels like you're driving into that building. I'll show you that building once we get there. Oh dear, this poor man. He's looking for money for passers-by. Oh dear. Someone who might be distracted texting or something may not see him. It's very distressing. Oh my gosh. It's freaking out the drivers. There's a park en route with a playground, and the playground has like a sprinkler system for the kids to play in. And I was so tempted. But I thought, don't worry about what other people think if you cool off from the sprinkler. But then I thought, you know what? I'd probably would scare the kids, probably scare the parents. What's this adult person doing in the kids' sprinkler system? So that was a quick decision, no. I do like that building. It looks a bit derelict, but I like the structure. I like the size of the windows. Yeah, Richmond Street. I've never walked here. I've only been on this part of Richmond in a car. Last night, beautiful day yesterday, my husband and I went out to Caledonia Road, and it's sort of west, and we had an errand to do, and then he drove home and I decided to walk home. So Glencairn was right there, so I just started at Glencairn and walked home from Caledonia and walked all along Glencairn eastbound to home. It took about an hour 20, I think. An hour 15, an hour 20, an hour 25, can't remember. Anyway, it was a nice walk home, and the reason why it was such a nice walk home was, well, actually a couple of reasons. One, it was pretty quiet. It was a nice day and the sun was to my back, which is always good. And the homes were, they reminded me of, homes that I grew up with. Like, majority of these homes along Glencairn on that side were like untouched. In other words, certainly from the outside, they weren't tear downs and rebuilds. There were a few, but really just only a few. The majority of the homes were like homes in their original state, and it just took me back to, the homes that I grew up with. And some lovely gardens, and it just was so nice. I really took my time and tried to take it all in, because it was all so new to me. I really enjoyed doing that walk, and I thought of recording it, but then I thought, no, it might be boring for you guys, because it's all pretty much residential. But it might appeal to some of you. I think maybe I should do that walk, because I do know we probably have to go back to that place again. We had to do our errands, so maybe I'll bring my camera next time and record that walk home. Now, this is the building. This is the condo. Do you see right here at Jarvis in Richmond? Right where these lights are. So when you're driving where these cars are, and you're driving westbound, this is the building that I was mentioning that feels like you're going to drive right into it. But that's only from afar. You can see how it curves around the building. So last night, my husband, David, and I were sitting outside after dinner, and we have been monitoring a cardinal family. So our neighbors have some beautiful cedar trees that back up against our yard, and we were hearing the cardinals, and we also have a bird feeder, so I would often see the cardinals come and feed, and then I could see where they flew to. Anyhow, long story short, we have been monitoring a dad cardinal. So a male cardinal is a brilliant red, and the male cardinal, once the eggs are hatched, the male cardinal takes over the responsibility of feeding and caring for the offspring. And usually cardinals, apparently they normally lay about 3 eggs. And dad cardinal is also responsible for, teaching them to fly and that kind of thing, fend for themselves. So maybe we've only seen one fledgling. Maybe there were others. Maybe they've all flown the nest, so to speak. But there's one that Dad is monitoring and teaching to fly. So we've seen the fledgling attempting to fly. He's a little bit, you know, like the way a child would be learning to walk, a little bit awkward, a little bit clumsy. But Dad has a close eye. So we were watching this fledgling, and any bird, like bigger birds that would come by, like robins, or even, you know, sparrows, if they came near, they could have been totally oblivious to the fledgling, because he blended into the fence and he blended into the trees. You couldn't see him, and he was super still. And Dad would come and chase these other birds away. Like, he just was, and he came out of nowhere. He always had his eye on his little baby. And it's just been marvelous to watch. And this morning I was outside while I was reading the paper, having my coffee, and Dad came to the feeder. And so that was within minutes of me sitting down. So I thought, that's great. I can see where, you know, if the offspring, if the fledgling is still around. Because last night when we left watching them, the baby was in a tree. And so when I watched Dad take food to his baby, the fledgling was in the same tree, but I think he was up a branch. He still blended in really well, and I only could see him when he started to move and when Dad came to feed him. And I don't know whether the baby is a boy or a girl, because males in particular will not turn red until they're about a year old. And cardinals have a long, I guess, feather tail. And this baby, there really was no tail. Like, he's a newbie. Anyhow, it's just been, like, seriously an honor to watch this. I've never, until I started working with animals, which was 10 years ago, I didn't have time to really smell the roses. And when I was working my corporate job, I was working long hours, and there was no time to sit back and smell the roses, so to speak. So now to appreciate, all the green around me and the wildlife, that's something that, is a real bonus to be a retiree. At least in my case, I am learning to appreciate more of what's in front of me. Now we're coming up to Victoria Street. And another really fun piece of news, it's a fun piece of news for both my husband and I. We watched Johnny Stumbles on his latest live stream, and he mentioned Boomer Girl Walking. He mentioned me in his on his channel, on his live stream. He actually watches my videos like that, just sends me over the moon. And both my husband and I were just overjoyed, high-fiving. So thrilled. So I am saying thanks, Johnny Strides, for shouting me out on your live stream. I appreciate your constructive feedback. Well done, by the way. And yeah, I'm thrilled. And because of you, my channel went from 116 subscribers to 123 this morning. So thank you. Thank you. Just made my day. And David's too. We were just over the moon this morning when we saw how our subscriptions climbed. David is my technical guy. That is his background. into software, and not for much longer because he is retiring. This is David's last week of work, and he will be a retiree. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for joining me in today's video. We are now at Richmond Street East and Yonge Street. If I crossed Yonge Street going west, we would be on Richmond Street West. And I've already done a video there. So again, thank you very much for joining me. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. And look out for all the other walking YouTubers. There's Ken Continuum, there's Johnny, there's, you know, there's a great walker in Nova Scotia. I think her channel is Bevy. I'm not sure, but I can't remember off the top of my head, but I watch her channel too. There is, I think, Ivy Annie in Calgary. She has a good channel as well. There's a lot of great channels. Just need to Google a city and you'll find a lot of good walkers. So support those walking YouTubers. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in my next video. This is Boomer Girl Walking, signing off.